Have you ever thought of painting your RV, but thought, boy, what a massive job? Well, I'm going to show you step by step how I paint old Rosie here and give her a brand new look on this episode of Roaming with Rosie. Hey Roamers, it's Jamie back at you. Behind me you can see Rosie. So what we got going is we're going to be painting Rosie. I'm going to paint the entire coach. In a previous video I removed all the decals, and I'll put a link down in the description for that video so you can check that out on how to take off all your decals. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to show you step by step how I paint Rosie. Huge project. Linda thinks I'm crazy for doing it. But it's something, once I removed all the decals, it was something I decided, hey, I want to freshen the look up, make her look nice and shiny again, so do a full body paint on her. I'm not going to be spraying it. I'm going to do what you see a lot of these people doing with Rustoleum. They're rolling it and then show you how the results come out. And then you can follow along and see if it's something you may want to do in the future to your RV. And if you notice, it's kind of all taped up. Bags over the mirrors, actually a patch right here and taped up down here, and I've also removed the headlights. And just to explain how I'm going to paint the RV, I don't have a paint booth or anything like that. I'm not spraying it. That's how they would normally do it. In a spray booth they would paint it. For the last 2 years I've been watching a lot of videos on yacht painting. Yachts are made out of gel coat the same way that this RV is made. When they apply the paint, they'll work in a section. They'll use a high density roller, roughly 6 inches, 4 or 6 inches, either one. And what they do is they roll the paint on vertically, and they'll work in a section, say 2 foot by 3 foot. Linda thinks I'm insane. I've been talking about it for the last 2 years. Ever since we bought Rosie, I never really liked the decals. And once you remove them, you get that ghosting, and that bothers me as well. So I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like that. Earlier I showed you how I was removing the decals. I removed all of the decals, so all the decals are gone. All the old decals that were on here are gone. I've removed all of them. What I got here is spot putty. I'm putting spot putty because whoever redid the decals before we bought Rosie, when they put the decals on there, they actually cut the decal with a razor blade on the coach, so it left razor blade marks in the gel coat. So what I'm doing is I'm going along with spot putty and I'm fixing all of that. If you look down here, you can see these are the marks that the razor blade left. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just taking a putty knife and I'm applying spot putty, and then once I'm done, I'm going to sand it. I'm going to sand it with 400. This whole panel here I've sanded with 320, and I've done most of everything up above this line so far has been sanded with 320 on this side. So I've done all of that, and I've gone through, and any imperfections I've gone and filled those with Bondo and then sanded, and because I want it to look as nice as possible. I'm not a body guy by any means, but if I see some imperfections, I want to do the best job I can, so that's what I'm kind of doing. So I'm just going to go through and show you some of the stuff that I've got done so far. The driver's side completely sanded with 320. And then once I get the rest of the spot putty put down, I'm going to go back, after that's dried, I'm going to go back and I'm going to sand all of it where I did with 320 with 400. And then once that's done, then I'll wash it with soap and water, and then before I paint, I'll hit it with some degreaser. Any of this stuff were like little imperfections that I saw in the fiberglass, so I just went and filled those and sanded them. Up here, there was obviously some prior damage. So I went and when I sanded that all came out, and then I noticed there was a couple areas that needed some spot putty, so I hit that with spot putty. So over here we got more spot putty. Those are some imperfections. Again, somebody tried to remove a decal here using a regular razor blade and ended up gouging up the gel coat. Anyways, this side is not, you know, like I said, has not been sanded or anything. And these were where all the decals were. And again, we got more stuff with razor blade where they managed to scratch up the gel coat. And these are some more imperfections I filled with some Bondo. The one good thing in this project is between the house and the RV, basically creates an area where I'm kind of sheltered, so I'm not being hit with wind or debris or a lot of stuff like that. Like I said, I don't have a paint booth or a warehouse to paint the RV, so I'm kind of at mercy of the elements. So as you can see, I got it all taped off. And I've taken out all of these snap holes. Used to be a snaps for a cover that used to go on there, and I didn't like the way that looked. I want everything to look real clean, nice clean lines and everything. So I've patched all those holes. Like I said, I removed the headlights, bought new headlights for Rosie. And then I've got this all taped up, repaired any damage that needed to be repaired. Got everything sanded. And then we're going to go ahead and paint it. And then after that, I'm going to wet sand it. And then I'm going to buff it. And then I'm going to polish it. So that's what we're going to be doing. So what we're doing today is we're continuing with the painting project that I'm doing here on Rosie. So what I've done is I've taped everything off. I got this clear 3M masking. It's plastic and it comes pre-taped. So I use that to mask everything off, because I'm going to be spraying this part right here. It's the access door for the engine compartment. So I'm going to be spraying that. Everything else I'm going to be doing what's called rolling and tipping. But I have this all masked off. I've cleaned this all off. I've cleaned it with soap and water and wiped it down and let it dry. The next step in this process is I'm going to hit it with a degreaser so it removes any wax or anything like that that might be left on there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the degreaser, and then after that I'm going to start spraying it. So what I'm using is I'm using the Rustoleum wax and tar remover. So this will remove any like old wax or grease or anything like that that might be on the back of the RV here. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little of this on my rag here, and I'm just going to wipe this all down. That way I know I have a good clean surface to work with. Okay, so we got that all done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let that sit for a little bit, let it dry, and then after that we're going to start spraying. So the paint I'm going to be using is the Rustoleum Professional. It's the high performance enamel. and it's gloss white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, I don't do real heavy coats because that's when you're going to get some dripping and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to end up doing 4 coats. So I'm just going to, you know, lay a coat down. You probably won't get full coverage. The second coat I'll probably get close to full coverage, and then by the time I hit the 4th coat, I'll probably have 2 good coats where there's full coverage. It's dry to touch in about 15 minutes. You can apply a coat either within an hour or after 48 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my first coat, probably wait about 30-40 minutes, and then I'll hit it with my next coat, and then all the coats after that I'll wait about 30 to 40 minutes until I'm done with the 4 coats. So that's our first coat. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, like I said, 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll hit it again for our second coat. I sprayed all 4 coats. Now it's time to go ahead and remove all of this, everything that I have masked off, because tomorrow I'm going to start rolling on this part here. So I have this here all sprayed out. I'm going to pull all this masking off, and then tomorrow I'm going to get back and we're going to start doing the major part of the back side here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this all off, and then after I'm done with that, we'll proceed tomorrow and continue on with the painting. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We've got a lot accomplished so far. We've patched all the imperfections, sanded everything with 320, also 400, and we've also started painting in the back. We got that engine compartment door sprayed out. So next week what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing I'm going to show you how I roll out the paint with that Rustoleum paint and how I do that, and I'm also going to show you how I mix it, my mixing ratio. So make sure and tune in next week so I can show you all that. And for all the products that I've used during this episode, I'll put a link down in the description. And if you didn't by chance get to check out last week's video where we removed all the decals from old Rosie here, I'll put a link down in the description for that as well. Hey roamers, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Roaming with Rosie. For more information regarding this video, please check out the links in the video description below,
as well as products and equipment we use and recommend. We sometimes do receive a small commission when you use our links for purchases, which is a great way at no additional cost to you to help offset some of our production costs. Thank you so much for watching and sharing our videos and subscribing to Roaming with Rosie. We'd love to hear from you and encourage your comments and questions. Until next time, see ya.